Hey guys, welcome back to Made for More.
If you can tell on YouTube, because I know Spotify y'all can't see our faces. We made
well, my mom bought shirts.
Yeah, and it says Made for More.
Oh shoot!
It's actually so cool. Like, wow, we got our own shirts and everything. Like, don't even play.
Yep.
Well,
welcome back.
Today,
so exciting.
Or this week, we have a topic that honestly is such a I feel like it's such a fun topic to talk about because it's a part of your everyday life.
We've been wanting to talk about this one for a long time.
Even at our youth, we want to preach about this stuff.
We were ready. We were equipped.
So, you want to say what we're talking about?
Today we are talking about friendships. Who you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah, and we honestly we have a lot of experience in this. And not just in that way, but in a biblical way. I feel like we have experience because there are worldly friendships and there's godly friendships, and we know we've both been through the ringer in that situation, and we know that again, you're supposed to be surrounding yourself with people who are going to uplift you and support you. So
and I think we've been friends for long enough to know we've had the arguments, we've had the ins and outs, and we've figured out really well how to deal with those things. And I think it's a lot of stuff that people need to hear.
Yeah. And so we're just gonna get on into it because we don't want to leave you waiting any longer to learn about your friendships. Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is you are who you surround yourself with. And I think that's such a big one because when you surround yourself with your circle, so I know at school everyone has a little friend group, all throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, even college now, I have a group of friends, and you're spending 8+ hours with these people, and so their character traits start to become your character traits. And if they're not godly and you're learning things that aren't biblical and aren't from the Lord, then you start becoming your circle, if that makes sense.
And I think sometimes it's very easy for us to put aside things because we want approval from our friends, or we just want to fit in, but at what cost? And I think that's one thing I've learned, especially being out of high school, going from being in high school and then coming out, I was like, oh shoot, what are you putting aside and what morals are you putting aside to fit in with these people? And what is that doing to your relationship with God?
Yeah, and you're not, it literally, in the Bible, we're not called to fit in.
Nope.
We're not called to, if you see a huge crowd walking, you're supposed to stand out from everybody else because you are living through Jesus, and your character traits should represent how Jesus was when he was on this earth.
Yep.
And I think that we kind of forget that. We think oh, well, my friends are doing it, so I could do it too. I don't want them to make fun of me. I don't want to feel embarrassed because I'm different. But in reality, you should be giving your 100% to God because he gives 100% to you. And so when you're trying to blend in, you're supporting something that just isn't who you are.
And I think it's very easy too because we can be oh, I hang out with these people doesn't mean I do it though. Don't say that because you're normalizing it. You may be around it, but all it takes is one moment of weakness and you can fall into it. If you're hanging out with people who are smoking 24/7, you become normalized to that. But you're oh, I'm never gonna smoke. Well, so you're having a moment of weakness. If you're surrounding yourself with people with those kind of morals, they're not gonna be no, don't do that. That's not the person you are. They're gonna be here, try it. And being around people who are gonna tempt you, and I think that's what's so important about your friendships, having godly friends. These people are going to realize your moment of weakness. They're going to help walk you through some of the things you shouldn't be doing. They're gonna be okay, listen, hey, I noticed this is going on, and you're having a weak moment, but remember, this is what God says about you. This is what God expects from you. But if you're hanging around people who don't have the same morals as you, when you're in your moment of weakness and you're gonna go drink, you're gonna go to a party, you're gonna go do something like that. If anything, they're gonna encourage it, and they're not gonna help lead you down the path that God wants you to go down.
And I think too, we kind of forget, like, so with our friends at school, it sometimes, like, I think we forget the reason God placed us in that friend group. It's not to fit in, it's actually to lead them to God, and it's to lead them towards a better path than they're supposed to go down. Like, you are placed in your friendship for a reason. God doesn't make mistakes. Like, there's no such thing as coincidence with that. Like, your friends who are struggling with this sin and who are struggling with this, you are that person. Like, again, like, we hear this saying at church, like, you might be the only Jesus some people see, and you might be that person in that friend group that's going to lead them to Christ.
Yeah.
And I think we honestly forget that. Like, we think, oh well, like, they're fun to be around, like, you know, like, I'll just pray for them. And yes, pray for them, but also talk to them about Jesus. You should be representing Jesus throughout your whole entire life. Like, how you live is how you should live for Jesus. And if people aren't seeing Jesus in you and you're not leading people towards the cross, then it's time to check yourself.
Before you wreck yourself. And I think, like, we care so much about what other people think. Like, especially our friends. Like, we want to feel like we're a part of something, and we're trying to fill some type of void. But honestly, like, the moment I got out of high school, I was like, I cared for why. Like, because honestly, like, I was the type of person, like, I wanted to be, like, I wanted to feel close to people, like, and I was willing to do whatever it was to, like, get there. But the moment I got out of high school, I truly realized who my friends were, and, like, you don't have to put up with stuff that, like, you shouldn't have to. Like, and I think sometimes we put aside certain things because we want to feel loved, or because we want, like, to feel close to somebody. But one thing I've learned is, like, God is going to give you those people. Like, you do not have to hold on to certain friendships just because you're like, oh, we've been friends for so long, we have so many memories. Okay, but are they leading you to Christ? Like, and if they're not, you need to reevaluate that friendship, because the closer you get to Christ, like, you're gonna have to, if you're not surrendering certain things, like, you're not doing it right. Like, and you're going to have to give up certain friendships, and that's just what you have to do.
And I think as Christians, we kind of play a double life. Like, and honestly, like, again, I used to live a double life, like, in certain aspects of my life. And I think that as Christians, we have one foot in the church with our, like, church friends, like the ones that are more similar to us. And then we have one foot in our school friends, where we don't know how to balance. And I think when, like, we have two feet on opposite sides, then it's so hard to see clearly. It's so hard to see what the Lord's trying to speak to you, because you're trying to be one way with one group and one way with the other. And at the end of the day, you're not representing who God truly is in your life.
Yeah, and doing that, it's gonna crash. Like,
sure.
It never works out, like, because at one point you're gonna feel convicted, like, and it's gonna be like, okay, God's gonna ask you, like, okay, what matters more to you? And that's where your free will comes in, and that's really shows how much, like, your relationship with God matters to you, like, if you're willing to give up those certain things to get closer to God.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when this conviction happens, when we, like, realize, oh my goodness, like, I'm blending in with the people that I should be standing out from, we tend to isolate ourselves, and we tend to be like, well, like, now I have no friends, like, woe is me, like, you know. And we should never be isolating ourselves, because then when you're not surrounding yourself with community, that just leads you farther and farther from where God actually is calling you to be.
Yeah, like, God called us into community. He never meant for us to be alone. He literally made Eve for Adam because he didn't want him to be alone. Like, and personally, like, I'm really bad at isolating myself in certain situations, but you have to, like, remember sometimes, like, you're not meant to do stuff in your own strength. Like, and that's one thing I'm even learning now. Like, you can't do everything in your own strength. You have to purely, like, seek God's strength in it. And I think God places certain people in your life so that you can go to them for like that godly advice, because if you're just walking alone, like you're not going to be able to grow. You're not going to be able to get closer to God. Like God places friendships in your life so that you can lean on them. Like iron sharpens iron, and that's not just some cheesy verse. It's true, because like in your moment of weakness, when you're like when you have close friendships, you're like, hey, this is what I'm going through. Like, and it's going to take vulnerability, and it's not easy. um
No.
Still learning it, but it's gonna take that vulnerability. But the moment you're able to open up in that way, you never know, like the other person could be going through the same thing, like, but that's the moment where God is allowed into the friendship. And when you allow God into your friendships, like that's when they will flourish. Like I think my strongest friendships are, I know my strongest friendships are the ones that I have centered on God. And like I think especially for me and July, we've always centered our relationship on God, and I think that's why we've been friends for so long. Like I remember growing up, I'd always be like, why can't I keep a friend? Like why are these friendships like only lasting so long? I want like this friendship where I we can be friends forever, like, but they were never centered on God. And here we are now, like, and this is the friendship that's lasted the longest, but it's because every single little argument we have, every single little emotional vulnerable thing we're going through, we talk to each other. We like,
Goes back to God.
yeah, it always goes back to God. Scriptures brought up like we're always leading each other closer to God. I don't think there's ever been a point where we gave each other worldly advice or we tried leading each other down the path that wasn't God's path.
No. And in Ecclesiastes 4 verses, it's actually kind of long, but it's Ecclesiastes 4 verse 9, and it goes into it a little longer. It says, two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help, but someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm, but how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. And this verse, like, I feel like we hear it so much in like the like in church, and like in our friendship, it's like, yes, two are better than one, but then you go back to your room and you isolate yourself and you don't tell people how you're feeling, and you're not taking the steps to actually grow your friendships. And when you don't grow your friendships, you just stay stagnant. And when it says two people lying close together can keep each other warm, I think too, like, Cadence and I both, like, our relationship with God is always growing. And when I'm going through something, like I'm just so defeated, it's so crazy because we're so close to the Lord that she can just tell something's wrong. And I think of it too as like when you're going through something and she knows something is wrong, that's God telling you this is your chance to be vulnerable and tell her how you're feeling. Because when you keep running and running, be like, no, like I'm okay, I promise I'm okay, that's when you start getting cold.
Yeah.
Because you're not close to the fire, you're not close to the flame that's actually going to bring you closer. And again, we talked about it in youth. We preached on Encanto. And Aria, shout out Aria if you're listening, she talks about how your flame burns brighter when you're in unity. And the flame is God, and when you come together, you can keep each other warm. And I think that's what that verse is talking about. So you have those chances to be vulnerable with your friends, but again, are you going to take those steps and actually admit? Are you going to admit how you're feeling in that moment, or are you just going to be like, oh, I'm fine, like, it's nothing to worry about?
Yeah, and you're not going to get anywhere if you just hold on to it. Like I've learned from personal experience, the longer you hold on to something and try to ignore it, it's just going to bottle up, and then at some point it's going to explode. Like, but if you're able to be vulnerable with your friend and express to them how you're feeling, like you can nip it in the butt. Like, and that's where true growth comes from.
And okay, this is something I literally, Kate and I were like kind of talking, like, okay, like what's some like things we want to mention. And I think, yes, you can be vulnerable with your friends and like explain how you're feeling, but then it's what you do after with it. And it's okay, so are you going to be like, well, I'm so sorry you're feeling this way, but this is what God says about you, like we were talking about earlier. Or are you going to support what they're going through in a worldly way? And I put in my notes, don't support someone's pity. So when they're going through something and they're like, oh my gosh, like life just sucks, like I need to go back and text that boy. I need to go back and text that person because like I'm just going through it. Are you gonna be like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm so sorry. Like you need to go right back and go text them because they're gonna make you feel better. Or are you gonna be like, no, like let's pray about it. Let's go back to God and let's truly see how God sees it before people who have lived in this world and your flesh overpowers you, how they see it. Because at the end of the day, God is all knowing and he's all powerful and he will comfort you, but it's you have to go to him first and give that godly advice.
Yeah, if you're holding back the truth from your friends, you're doing them a disservice. Like if you're just telling them what they want to hear instead of what they truly need to hear, and what they truly need to hear is God's word. Like if you're not doing that, you're doing them a disservice. And like I think sometimes we get so scared that we're gonna hurt somebody's feelings, or which obviously do it in a loving way.
Right. Don't just yell at them like you are doing it wrong. Like,
yeah.
don't do that.
But give it to them in a loving way, but tell them the truth. Tell them like help lead them down the path that's going to lead them closer to God.
Right.
Like, and I think sometimes we're so scared to bring certain things up because we're scared of how somebody's going to react. But honestly, I'd prefer for July to be mad at me because I no, stop.
No, she's getting there. She's getting there.
Because I'd rather tell her the truth in something that will help lead her closer to God than not tell her anything at all in her stay in a place of something that's leading her further from God.
Yeah. And I literally just had something that's going to come back to me in 1 minute.
No, you got it.
And I think, too, that, like, who you go to advice is so important. Because, again, we talked about how you have your church friends and you have the people who are actually walking in that walk with you, the hard path, like the narrow path that is so hard to walk on, but it's so worth it. And then you have your friends who are walking on that wide path where it's full of just greed, full of like impurity and stuff like that. And it's so important to know, okay, when I'm going through something, who am I going to for advice? Am I going to the people who are going to tell me, oh, go drink your sorrows away? Oh, go back, go get with that guy and like have him just like make like just go do things that you shouldn't be doing? Or are you going to go to the people who are actually going to lead you towards the narrow path even when it's hard?
Yeah. In Proverbs 28:10 it says those who lead good people along an evil path will fall into their own trap, but the honest will inherit good things. And I think one thing I like to say a lot to people is like, are you surrounding yourself with people who will put your weakness in your hands? Like, because you are supposed to go to somebody who's going to be like, hey, like, what are you doing? But like if you're going to somebody who, like, say you have, let's just go back to addiction, like say you have a problem with smoking, like, and like vaping or whatever it is, like drugs, like if you're like, hey, like I'm struggling with this, or if like even you don't even have to say it, but they know you're struggling with this and they know you're trying to get closer to God, and if they're like, oh hey, try this, like, no, do not surround yourself with people who will put your weakness in your own hands, because those aren't the right kind of people.
No. And it says again in like Proverbs 27, it says a heartfelt counsel of a friend is as sweet as perfume and incense. And then also right below it, it says never abandon a friend, either yours or your father's.
I have that written down too.
Yeah? Oh, we didn't even talk about that part.
Oh.
I don't think we even like...
Finish what you were saying and then we'll get into that.
But like, I think we sometimes forget, like, when someone's giving you advice and it's the right advice you need to hear, that it's truly out of love. And I think sometimes we take it out as bitterness and we take it as, oh, they're picking apart the bad parts of me and they're telling me what I'm doing wrong rather than supporting me is what they should be doing. But in reality, they are supporting you by giving you the right advice. And again, like, when you go to those friends, they're going to lead you towards the right way. But it says never abandon a friend. And when you go to some of those friends who aren't, like, who are worldly, they could abandon you. And like, when it says never abandon a friend, I think when life gets hard and you're trying to support your friend and give him that advice, it's so important to actually walk through those sorrows with them and to walk through it with them, because you are giving them that advice. Why?
from that, I think it's really important to surround yourself with people you can learn from. Like, I think something I've always heard was like, if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. Like, because if you're not surrounding yourself with people who are constantly in their word, like, in surrounding yourself with people who are constantly in their word and seeking God's guidance, like, and they're not growing in themselves, like, how are they going to encourage you to grow as well?
Yeah.
Like, I know July's always in her word and I'm always in my word, and it's constantly, it's like when you're doing a Bible study with somebody and you realize a certain part of it, but they pick up on something different. Like, if you're not surrounding yourself with somebody who's constantly in their word or like knows more than you do, like, where is your friendship gonna grow? Where are you gonna learn more?
Yeah, and I think we've been through that with like, especially me, like some of my like past friendships, I felt like I would go to them for advice, and I feel like the advice was more of like comfort, and like I felt like it was just like it's okay to go through that, like, but it was never backed up with where to go next with it. And when I met like Cadence and we actually started getting close, it was always when I was going through something and she would tell me like, first it's yes, it's okay, and like comfort me, but also
Yeah.
like what steps are you gonna take to like learn from it to get
Yeah.
better and to actually like see what God has to say about your situation.
Yeah, like we have emotions. Like
That's
we're
normal.
we're
We're
gonna
human.
deal with them, but like it's don't sit in them.
Yeah.
And if you have a friend that's allowing you to sit in your emotions, they're not a good friend because they would like I think sometimes people think like just straight comforting is doing you like helping you.
Yeah.
Like yes, comfort your friend, but help them get out of that. Like don't let them sit in their pity. Like because I think sometimes especially with like mental health like and anxiety and depression
Yeah.
and stuff, like it's very easy to be like, oh, I understand where you're coming from, I've dealt with this too,
We
like
normalize it.
this is a normal thing, it's okay. But like yes, people experience it, like I'm sorry you're feeling this way, I'm sorry this is what you're dealing with, like, and but I want to walk alongside you in this, I want to help you grow closer to God in this, like because this isn't what God intends for you, like it's comforting your friend but also picking them up out of that hole, because just letting them sit in their hole, they're gonna drown.
Yeah, and kind of like going back to the whole normalizing, I think sometimes, especially for me, my life, like the last, I think when I was like ages like 8 through like 15, I went through a really bad season of anxiety. And that's something I want to talk about in like another like episode. But I remember there were certain friends in my life where I would like kind of like admit to them like what I was going through, and they would just be like, "Oh, me too." Like join the club. Like yes, like you're going through that, and it's like they were normalizing my situation rather than like actually helping me through it.
Yeah.
And when you start to normalize things, it just becomes your life and it becomes your identity, and then anxiety can become your idol. And so when you're doing those things and you're normalizing it with your friends instead of guiding them to where they like should be, then it just leads to disaster and it's going to fall down.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, guys, on to the next part of this. We wanted to bring up like how God uses the godly friendships. Like because I think once you've allowed God to be the center of your relationships, he's like it becomes so incredibly fruitful.
Yeah.
Like we've like I said, day one, well, yeah, we've always had God at the center of our relationship. Like, but we hit some type of point where we became like telepathic or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like honestly, the more you allow God into your friendship, the more God will use that friendship. Because the amount of times like God's used one another to speak into each other's life, like, or yeah, just anything like that. When like July's call into ministry, like God's spoke to me, and I'm like, oh shoot. But and then I think it's myself, but it's not, it's God. But God truly uses those friendships like to further.
And I think he uses them to test your faith in him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna give a little story time about a situation like Cadence and I we went through, and it was right after camp, and we had youth literally the next day, and we're leaders, and so we showed up
We're
early
there
to help
early.
set up, and I was just the second I walked into the room, I just felt heavy, and I just felt a lot of just spiritual warfare going on in my life. But I kind of was like, no, it's okay, we're gonna push through. And I remember Cadence walked in, and we looked at each other, and my immediate reaction was she's mad at me, and I was like, dang, she's just mad at me, she doesn't want to talk to me. And what's crazy is I think you thought the same thing. She thought the exact same thing. But what's crazy about that is we went into our pre-service prayer, and I was worshiping, and I was just I was crying. I was like, God, what do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. And the Lord was like, this is what's going on in her life. Go talk to her. And I remember I was like, God, I don't want to talk to her. I was like, she's mad at me. No, I don't want to do that. But that in those moments, it's okay, are you going to be obedient, like we talked about last
Mm-hmm.
time, to God and help a friend? Or are you just going to keep it to yourself and question, oh, was that from God?
Oh
Because
shoot.
it was. And so I went and talked to her. I was like, hey, I need to talk to you. We sat down. We talked. I told her what God told me. We cried. We
Yeah.
prayed. And just God uses the hardest moments.
Yeah.
And after that, we were fine.
And we were able to talk about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is too vulnerable, but oh well. Like I had been going through some spiritual warfare, especially with going into ministry and everything like that. We can talk about this in another episode, but the closer you get to God, I hate to break it to you, but the more spiritual warfare you're gonna
It
go
doesn't get
through.
easier, but
It doesn't.
it's
But
so rewarding.
yeah, the moment I walked into church, I had been having a perfectly fine day, but the moment I walked in, I felt heavy, and I just was going through it,
Yeah.
and I was trying to hide it, and God spoke to July. But once we were able to talk, she was able to speak into my life things I haven't even mentioned to her about yet. And then also we were able to realize that the spiritual warfare that I'd been going through for months because I was getting closer to God and because I was taking those steps into ministry, as she was just starting that, she was starting to deal with spiritual warfare, and as she was stepping into ministry, she was dealing with it more. And if honestly, I think if we would have allowed the enemy to creep into our heads and be like, oh, they're mad at each other, there's something wrong, and she wouldn't have obeyed what God was trying to tell her, I don't think we would have talked about the fact that we were both going through spiritual warfare, and I wouldn't have been able to mention hey, this is just what happens, this is what I've been going through. But God will use, and I don't think it was coincidence that we got our calls into ministry at different times.
No, yeah,
because
for
I
sure.
think if we would have done it at the same time, we both would have gone bonkers. But I got my call into ministry, and then I dealt with it, but then she got her call into ministry, and God's gonna use the things you're going through so that you can speak into other people's life.
Yeah, and again, what the enemy does is he will plant lies into your head. Especially with friendship, that's the biggest thing, is that we are overthinkers. We are human, and we overthink. I'm a huge overthinker, and I think everyone's mad at me all the time. I'm gonna be so honest. I think people are oh, they don't like me.
She thought I was mad at her when I got here.
Yeah. That's, and again, that's how the enemy works. Every single little moment, I'm oh, they don't like me. And that's how so many friendships break.
Yeah.
It's at that little moment where the enemy tried planting something into your head, and he actually won. And you allow the enemy to let you believe that lie, rather than going to that friend and talking to them about what's going on. Again, it just goes back to vulnerability. If you truly want that friendship to grow, and you want those seeds to be watered, then you have to have the hard conversations. You can't just have the light, easy ones. It comes with a storm.
Yeah, and being able to express the things you're being weak in. And I think sometimes in our friendships we want them to see you in a certain light or something like that, but once you hide your weaknesses from them, you're only going to be able to get so far.
Yeah.
And I think this is another topic we wanted to talk about, but like being able to celebrate like other people's wins instead of being
Yeah.
jealous, like, and I think that's something that like ruins a lot of friendships, like, because God has his own plan for everybody, like,
Timing.
but timing, Pastor Blake. But God has like our each individual plan for one another, but like I think sometimes we can very easily like, and honestly like we've gone through it,
Oh,
like,
for sure.
and what I've been in such like a waiting season, but it's been such a pruning season.
Same.
Like, but I'm like, okay, God, like, what do I do next? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, but then I was seeing like certain opportunities for July, and I was like, okay, but like the enemy very that this is what we were kind of talking about that
Yeah.
night, but the enemy very easily was trying to be like, oh, like you've been in ministry, like trying to go into ministry for this long, and like she's just starting, like why is this and this happening for her and not you? But then you can either allow the enemy to creep in and tell those lies, or you can choose to like actually look into God's word and speak to that person about it,
Yeah.
because like we ended up talking about it and I was like, I don't want to feel this way, like,
Right.
and I know that none of that's true, like, but also when you're struggling with those thoughts, allowing somebody else to know what you're dealing with, like that that helps you, what's the word, it helps you like come back to your senses, like, because I think we can get so caught up in our heads, we're like blah 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 this and that, and it's like you get so caught up in your head, let somebody else into it so that they can ease your mind, like, and we each have our individual path, like, and God will open certain doors for you when the time is right. And
Yeah.
like just being able to celebrate each person's like wins, because you're going to have your own,
Yeah.
and you would want them to do the same for you.
Yeah. Like in that, I know it's so hard in those waiting seasons to support to that's a story for later. I know that it's hard in those waiting seasons to actually support your friends because you're seeing someone get something that you've waited for so long. And trust me, like we've both been there. Like I think we're both currently going through a situation very similar. Like but it's again like every day we are supposed to live like Jesus, and no matter what we're going through, we're also called to walk with people through their joy, through their pain.
Yeah.
And so it's like sometimes you have to put yourself to the side and support your friend because what they're going through and like the joy or whatever, like the mountain they climbed over, you will climb over that mountain, but God's also testing you. How are you going to act while you're in the valley?
I got a scripture. So Romans 12:15 says, "Be happy with those who are happy, and weep with those who are weep. Live in harmony with one another. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people." And I think like have your moment, like, and also realize like this is another thing we wanted to get into, but like being aware of the fact that like the other person is human too.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna each go through our own things, but like I think sometimes we can get so selfish and so like self-centered that we're like we could very easily be like, oh my goodness, like she's been doing this and this and this, like I don't understand. But sometimes you have to remind yourself, I wonder what their day was like, because I think sometimes me and July can be like, we'd have certain conversations over text and then be like, oh, why is she being like this? But then I
literally
think
today, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna lie. That was today.
and then I think we have to like check ourselves sometimes and be like, what kind of day have they had?
Yeah.
Like, because I think me and July both know each other so well. Like, we love each other so deeply, and we wouldn't like purposely treat each other like wrong. And so, like, if something comes out a little wrong sometimes, like, it's checking yourself and remembering, hey, like, they might be having a hard day. Like, I know who they are as a person, and let me see how they're doing instead of immediately becoming offended
Oh, yeah.
and being like, oh, why'd they do that? like, and being so focused on yourself and remembering they have emotions too, and it's not all about you. And I think it's very important to be a servant too, like to have a servant's heart,
Yeah.
especially in friendships. Like, and I know it's not always easy,
No.
but like God calls us to be a servant, like to everybody, like how He washed everybody's feet, like even at like who He was, like. And I think sometimes we have to remember, like, humble ourselves and
Yeah.
remember that we're literally not all that.
We are all human. Like, there's no, like we say it too, like, there's no sin greater than the other. So why are we judging our friends when they're going through something that's like, you know, like we're all going through different walks, and I just think that we sometimes get like, oh my gosh, like they're going through that. Yeah, you went through that 2 weeks ago. Like, why aren't you supporting them and being there for them? And that's something I really like struggled with and like had to like be pruned on. Like, and at the same time too, like I also realized that sometimes when you're wanting to go give like someone advice or be like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Like I know something's wrong. Sometimes it just takes time, and you just gotta like, and God be convicts me in that all the time, because I'm that type of person that's like, right away, tell me what's wrong, you know. But sometimes it just takes a minute that you have to like let them like take a breather. And if you try forcing them, they're not going to want to tell you. You have to have that servant's heart and like have that compassion and knowing that they are going through something. So give them a minute.
She's talking about me.
We're very opposite in that way.
We are. She's very much a let's talk about it right now, and I'm like, good, I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'm very much a let me think about it.
Yeah.
And then I'll get back
like,
to
literally,
you.
It was so funny. Today, like, she walked in the house, and I was taking a math test, and I literally, she didn't even have to ask me. I was just like, I'm so stressed. Like, I'm just going through this. Like,
I stayed quiet.
I just didn't even hide, like, how I was feeling. But then again, like, we're all different. God made us different for a reason. So, like, that's why we work so well. Like, we help each other with our our points where we're weak in.
Yeah. And I think we've gone a little long, but it's almost 20 minutes. But this has been such like an important topic that we wanted to talk about. I think it's honestly the first topic we thought about, like, and we've been wanting to talk about it for so long. But I think one thing that's really important to bring up too is like you're going to find like those friendships, like, and
they will come.
Like, I think for both of us, like, for so long we were like, I want that godly friendship. I want that friendship that's gonna last, like actually last. And don't lose hope, like, because we both went through it, like, but keep praying and keep seeking, like, and feed into those friendships, like, because I think sometimes we can give so much attention to the friendships we want to like flourish that aren't of God, and we're like, oh, but I want, like, we used to be so close, blah blah this and that, but like, and we try feeding into those friendships, especially with people who aren't feeding into the friendship themselves. And I think sometimes you just have to evaluate your friendships and be like, this is a friendship that's leading me closer to God. I need to feed more into this one than the one that's leading me away from God, and that isn't even feeding into me.
Yeah. So, moral of the story, like, God's timing on like friendships is so like amazing. Like, He knows the people you need in your life. He knows that the circle you're with right now, He will use it for His glory. But just stay consistent in that and make sure you are representing Jesus and you're not representing the world, because that's a big thing.
And then the friendships always come at the best time.
Oh yeah.
Like, because like I think sometimes we can get so eager to be like, why can't I have this friendship now? Like, why can't I have that person? But it's like, I think for us, like, me and July got close at literally the best time. Like, one, we were about to graduate.
Yeah.
And then two, like, I had just lost a friend, and like, I needed that kind of friendship. Like, and God planted that friendship at the perfect time. And like, obviously we had been friends before that, but like,
close.
God gives you those friendships and points them out to you in the moment you need it the most. Like, so
yeah. We hope y'all enjoyed this talk about friendships, and we hope you learned something from it, because even we did.
Yeah, I think even now, as we talked about it.
But we hope y'all stay tuned for our next episode next week. Again, we
Yeah.
don't know what we're gonna talk about. It just kind
Yeah.
of comes.
I literally, we figured this out. When did we figure this out?
Like 2 days ago.
Yeah. I think we allow God to speak to us.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, and at the moment we're both starting school. I start
Yeah.
school next week, so we're trying that every week. But once I start school and she's deep in the school too, we're gonna fill it out. We're gonna try
Yeah.
every week. If not, it might become bi-weekly.
Yeah.
But at the moment we're trying every
Yeah.
week.
We're gonna get them out eventually.
Don't fret.
All right.
Bye.
Oh.